Have you ever wondered why we often feel the need to share every detail of our lives with those around us? Does the constant retelling of events, thoughts, and experiences truly bring us closer to others? Or does it simply fill the silence with noise? C.S. Lewis once asked, "Is it not surprising how much we talk without really saying anything in this incessant need to speak? Are we truly listening to others, to ourselves, or even to God?" When we focus so much on narrating our past or projecting our future, we lose touch with the present moment. The beauty, the opportunities, and even the stillness that God provides become overshadowed by our own words. This constant urge to share can become a distraction, a barrier that prevents us from fully embracing life as it unfolds. Like Lewis suggests in his reflections, true connection often comes not from the amount of talking we do, but from the space we create for reflection and understanding. I invite you to pause and reflect. Are we filling our conversations with meaningful truths, or simply filling time with unnecessary chatter? Let's quiet our minds and hearts, allowing God's presence to speak into our lives. Stay with me as we explore how to live with more purpose and presence. In the fast-paced world we live in, it's easy to get caught up in our own thoughts, constantly seeking validation or trying to prove our worth through our words. But C.S. Lewis, in his profound reflections, often emphasized that true fulfillment comes not from self-centeredness, but from a genuine interest in others. Lewis once said, "Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less." This resonates deeply with the idea that connection is found when we shift our focus away from ourselves and toward the people around us. When we listen, we create space for deeper relationships and an enriched life. Imagine this: you're walking through a quiet, serene park. The air is fresh, filled with the scent of flowers, and birds are singing a song that touches your soul. You pause to take it all in, feeling connected not only to nature but to something much greater, a moment where you're fully present. Now envision the same walk, but this time you're distracted, absorbed in a phone conversation. Your attention is divided, and instead of the richness of your surroundings, you're consumed by recounting the minutiae of your day. The experience, no doubt, becomes hollow. Lewis might argue that this is what happens in our spiritual lives as well. When we focus too much on ourselves, we miss out on the grandeur of God's creation and the wisdom available in the stories of others. In one of his famous works, The Four Loves, Lewis explores how love is not about self-seeking, but about the self-giving nature of true connection. Similarly, in our daily lives, when we approach relationships with the intention to listen rather than speak, we are practicing a form of love. This aligns with biblical principles found in James 1 verse 19, which teaches, "Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak and slow to become angry." Listening is a way of humbling ourselves and honoring others, allowing us to be vessels of God's grace. It is in the act of listening that we find an unexpected blessing. We grow. C.S. Lewis often wrote about transformation, about how real change happens not by clinging to our own perspectives, but by opening ourselves up to something greater. When we listen, truly listen, without the need to immediately interject our own experiences, we create a space for personal growth and wisdom. We begin to see the world through different lenses, and our hearts expand with compassion. In this way, listening becomes a spiritual practice, drawing us closer to the image of Christ, who often listened before he spoke. Lewis's thoughts on the subject remind us that our lives are not isolated, self-contained stories, but are woven into the grand tapestry of human and divine connection. Each time we choose to be present with someone, fully engaged and listening, we are participating in this larger narrative. The act of listening isn't passive, it's active. It's transformative, and it brings us closer to God and each other. I challenge you, as C.S. Lewis might, to put aside the urge to be the center of attention and instead practice the art of listening. Whether it's in a conversation with a friend, during prayer, or while experiencing the beauty of creation, Resist the impulse to always fill the silence with your own words. Ask more questions. Show genuine curiosity. Allow yourself to truly absorb what others are saying, not just waiting for your turn to speak. You'll find that the more you listen, the more you learn not just about the world around you, but about yourself, your faith, and the God who speaks and whispers through the lives of others. In doing so, you'll not only deepen your relationships, but you'll also enrich your own soul. You'll see that real connection and fulfillment come from being fully present with others, much like how Jesus was present with those he encountered, offering his undivided attention and love. This simple, yet profound shift can transform your life in ways you never expected, opening doors to deeper love, wisdom, and spiritual growth. Listening is a profound act of love. It is in our willingness to listen, to pause and allow others to share their experiences, that we open ourselves to new perspectives and insights that we may never have encountered otherwise. As Proverbs 18 verse 13 reminds us, he who answers before listening, that is his folly and his shame. The Bible often emphasizes the importance of listening as a way of understanding not just others, but also God. C.S. Lewis, in his work The Problem of Pain, echoed this sentiment when he said, "We can ignore even pleasure, but pain insists upon being attended to." God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our consciences, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Lewis beautifully captures the importance of paying attention not only to those around us, but also to the voice of God, which can often be found in the stories and experiences of others. When we truly listen, we create space for deeper connections and allow God to work through those interactions. It is in those moments that we receive new ideas, perspectives, and possibilities that we might have been blind to in our own narrow understanding. This is especially true when we listen with humility, setting aside our own judgments and preconceptions. James 1 verse 19 instructs us, "Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak and slow to become angry," emphasizing how vital it is to prioritize listening over speaking. Sincere sharing, which flows from the heart, is much more likely to be embraced by others. This kind of sharing is devoid of any ulterior motives or desires for recognition. Instead, it reflects a deep sense of care and consideration for others, a desire to give rather than to take. When we share our experiences or wisdom, not out of a need for validation but from a place of authenticity, it resonates deeply with those around us. Jesus exemplified this in his teachings, often sharing profound truths in simple, relatable ways that met people where they were. As C.S. Lewis remarked, "Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less." When we approach conversations with humility, focusing on others and not on how we are perceived, our sincerity shines through and others are drawn to the truth of our words. Challenging ourselves to listen more than we speak is a practice that can transform not only our relationships, but also our spiritual life. In a world that often values loudness and self-promotion, choosing to listen more can feel countercultural. Yet, in doing so, we are following the example of Christ, who, even as the Son of God, took time to listen to others, to hear their cries and their stories. Mark 10 verse 51 illustrates this beautifully when Jesus asks the blind man, "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus knew the man was blind, yet he chose to listen, allowing the man to express his need. This moment of listening, of truly hearing the man, was an act of compassion that led to healing. Moreover, when we prioritize listening, we begin to live more fully. There is an undeniable richness that comes from engaging with the world around us rather than constantly narrating our own experiences. Sometimes, in our desire to share every detail of our lives, we miss the opportunity to simply be present, to experience life as it unfolds. C.S. Lewis, in Mere Christianity, warns against self-centeredness when he writes, "If you want to make sure of keeping it intact, you must give your heart to no one, not even to an animal." Wrap it carefully round with hobbies and little luxuries. Avoid all entanglements. Lock it up safe in the casket or coffin of your selfishness. Lewis points out that living fully involves giving up the need to always center ourselves in the narrative, instead opening ourselves to the richness that comes from genuine connection and presence. Living this way, being fully present and listening to others, also enriches the lives of those around us. When we listen, we are offering a gift, one that speaks louder than words. We allow others to shine, to feel seen and heard, which is a rare and precious experience in today's fast-paced, noisy world. Philippians 2 verse 3-4 instructs us to do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interests of the others. By listening and being present, we are actively practicing this verse, embodying Christ's call to love and serve one another. C.S. Lewis also speaks to the transformative power of this kind of humility and presence in his book, The Four Loves, where he reflects on how true love and friendship grow when we place the needs and experiences of others above our own. He writes, "Friendship is unnecessary, like philosophy, like art. It has no survival value, rather it is one of those things which give value to survival." In listening, in allowing others to express themselves fully, we are offering them a sense of value, a sense of worth that goes beyond mere survival. God calls us to this way of living not just for our benefit, but to bring glory to Him. As we listen, share sincerely, and allow others to shine, we reflect the love and grace of Christ, who made space for us all at His table. In doing so, our lives and the lives of those around us are made more beautiful, more complete, and more aligned with the heart of God. Let us be people who listen more, speak less, and live fully in the present, knowing that in doing so, we are following the example of Christ Himself. And in every conversation, every moment of sincere sharing and humble listening, let us give thanks to God, for it is He who guides us, who opens our hearts to hear and our minds to understand. In the world of communication, sharing is one of the most fundamental aspects of the human experience. It allows us to connect, bridge the gap of isolation, and find common ground in the narratives that shape our lives. Yet, it's not just the act of sharing that matters, but how we share, why we share, and with whom we share. As Proverbs 18 verse 21 says, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." This verse reminds us of the profound responsibility we carry in our words. They can either build others up or tear them down. This calls for intentional, purposeful sharing, not merely out of habit or the desire for attention, but with the goal of uplifting, connecting, and imparting value to others. Purposeful sharing begins with self-awareness. Too often, we may share stories out of a need to be heard, validated, or acknowledged. However, as C.S. Lewis wisely points out, humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. When we engage in communication, this principle can guide us. Instead of focusing on how sharing will benefit us, we can ask ourselves, what can this contribute to the other person? This shift in perspective moves our sharing from self-centered to other-centered, creating space for deeper, more meaningful connections. When we are mindful of what we say and why we say it, our communication becomes more valuable. Jesus taught us the importance of our words, as seen in Matthew 12, verse 36. "But I tell you that everyone will have to give account on the day of judgment for every empty word they have spoken." This emphasizes that every word matters, not just the grand ones, but the small, seemingly insignificant ones too. Purposeful sharing calls us to weigh our words, ensuring they carry meaning, truth, and intention. It asks us to consider whether what we are about to share brings value to the listener or simply fills the space. Sharing with purpose also involves being selective in what we share. It's easy to fall into the habit of oversharing, divulging too much in the hope of being understood or validated. However, true connection comes not from how much we share, but from the authenticity and vulnerability behind it. As C.S. Lewis said, "To love at all is to be vulnerable." This applies not only to love but also to communication. When we share from a place of sincerity, revealing our true selves, we invite others to do the same. Vulnerability creates an atmosphere of empathy and understanding, which fosters genuine connections. In our eagerness to share, we must not forget the importance of balance. Communication is a two-way street, a delicate dance between speaking and listening. James 1 verse 19 offers timeless wisdom. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. To engage in meaningful conversations, we must practice this art of listening, allowing others the space to share their stories. Listening with intent and curiosity transforms interactions from surface-level exchanges to profound moments of connection. It shifts the focus from merely sharing our own experiences to genuinely understanding the experiences of others. One of the most powerful aspects of communication is knowing when to pause. In a world that encourages constant sharing, we often forget the value of silence and reflection. Taking a moment to pause before speaking allows us to consider whether our words are truly necessary or beneficial. C.S. Lewis beautifully stated, "We live, in fact, in a world starved for solitude, silence, and private, and therefore starved for meditation and true friendship. Silence and communication creates room for contemplation, preventing us from speaking just to fill the void. It enables us to contribute meaningfully when we do speak, making our words more impactful. Moreover, when we do choose to share, it is essential that our words carry value. Sharing stories that inspire, uplift, or offer a fresh perspective can have a profound impact on others. As Philippians 4 verse 8 advises, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." This verse encourages us to focus on sharing what is good, pure, and helpful to others. When we share stories of overcoming adversity, finding faith in dark times, or the beauty of God's grace in our lives, we offer hope and encouragement to those who may be struggling. True communication is a dance of empathy and curiosity. It's not just about sharing our thoughts, but about seeking to understand others' perspectives as well. This mutual exchange creates the magic of connection, where both parties feel heard and valued. As C.S. Lewis profoundly stated, friendship is born at that moment when one person says to another, "What? You too? I thought I was the only one." In these moments of shared understanding, we realize that we are not alone in our struggles or triumphs. Communication, when done with intention and care, has the power to remind us of our shared humanity. God calls us to use our words with purpose, to share wisely, and to communicate with empathy and love. By doing so, we can build stronger, more authentic relationships that honor Him and enrich our lives. As we navigate the art of sharing, let us always be mindful of the power of our words, seeking to uplift, inspire, and connect with others in ways that reflect God's grace and love. Through intentional communication, we not only bless others but also experience the deep joy of being truly understood and connected. In a world full of distractions, practicing the art of intentional listening becomes a profound act of grace and empathy. So often we rush to share our stories, thoughts, and opinions, filling the spaces around us with noise. But what if we took a step back? What if we became intentional listeners, creating space for others to speak, to be heard, and to be understood? Proverbs 18 verse 13 reminds us, "To answer before listening, that is folly and shame." By listening deeply, we not only foster stronger relationships, but also honor the sacredness of others' voices. This practice of being fully present opens the door to deeper connections with those around us, and through these connections, we start to see the threads of a larger story unfolding, a story that no one person can tell alone. C.S. Lewis once said, "We read to know we are not alone, but perhaps we listen for the same reason." When we engage in the stories of others, we are not merely passively receiving information, we are participating in the larger narrative of humanity, acknowledging that our lives are intricately connected. In doing so, we realize that we are part of something much greater than ourselves. Listening with intention allows us to step outside of our own experience and engage in the grand design God has for us, recognizing that we all contribute to the tapestry of life in unique and irreplaceable ways. This understanding helps us grasp the truth of Romans 12, verse 5, which says, "So in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others, our stories are woven together." And it is through listening that we find our place in this divine narrative. Presence is powerful. In a world that often feels fragmented and divided, simply being present is an act of healing. When we are fully present with another person, not just physically but emotionally and spiritually, we bridge gaps and create understanding. It is here that empathy is born. As C.S. Lewis wisely noted, friendship is born at the moment when one person says to another, "What? You too? I thought I was the only one." Presence and listening provide the fertile ground for empathy to grow. And empathy has the power to mend broken hearts, restore relationships, and even heal communities. Communication goes far beyond the words we speak. It is about how we show up, how we hold space for others, and how we honor the sacredness of human interaction. James 1 verse 19 instructs us to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, highlighting the importance of thoughtful communication. When we communicate with intention, we create room for the stories of others to unfold without judgment or interruption. We become vessels of peace and understanding, reflecting God's love through our ability to listen and engage mindfully. This is a call to action. To be someone who listens intentionally, who makes space for others, and who communicates with purpose is to embody the teachings of Christ in everyday life. It is to reflect the love of God, who listens to us in our moments of joy, pain, and confusion. Through conscious listening, we not only transform our relationships but also contribute to the healing and restoration of the world around us. Matthew 7 verse 12 reminds us, "So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you." By listening to others in the way we wish to be heard, we honor God's command to love our neighbors as ourselves. When we practice being present and intentional in our listening, we participate in the transformation of the world. Every moment we spend truly listening is a moment where we invite God's presence into the conversation, allowing His grace to flow through our actions. As 1 Peter 4 verse 10 tells us, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others, as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. Listening is one of the most profound gifts we can offer, and in doing so, we become stewards of God's grace, impacting not only our own lives, but the lives of those we encounter. Life is not merely shaped by the stories we tell, but by how we show up, how we listen, and how we connect with others. The simple act of being present and listening with intention can transform not just personal relationships, but the world at large. As we commit to this practice, we open ourselves to the possibility of deepening our faith, nurturing empathy, and fostering a more compassionate world. Let us be people who listen with purpose, who create space for others, and who contribute to the unfolding of God's divine story through our presence. In doing so, we become instruments of His peace, reflecting His love and grace in every interaction. May we always be grateful for the guidance God provides, leading us to become vessels of His transformative power through the gift of listening. In a world filled with distractions, one of the greatest gifts we can offer ourselves and others is the gift of intentional presence. To be present means to truly listen, to hold space for others with care and purpose. This act of active listening transforms both the speaker and the listener, creating a sacred moment where connection is born. C.S. Lewis once said, "To love at all is to be vulnerable, and this vulnerability is often best expressed in our presence with one another." When we are present, we allow ourselves to be touched by others' experiences, fostering empathy and compassion, and bringing Christ's love into each interaction. It is in these moments that we become vessels of God's grace, guiding those who need His comfort. Conscious communication is not just about speaking or hearing words. It's about engaging the heart, mind, and soul in every exchange. Proverbs 18 verse 21 reminds us, "The tongue has the power of life and death," illustrating the profound impact of our words. Through mindful communication, we offer life-giving words that uplift, support, and encourage growth not just within ourselves but throughout our community. Every word we share has the potential to build bridges of understanding, heal wounds, and create a ripple effect of kindness that reaches far beyond the moment. In this, we see the manifestation of God's will for us to love our neighbors as ourselves. The importance of presence and mindful communication cannot be overstated. When we show up fully in our relationships with ourselves, with God, and with others, we invite transformation. Our presence becomes a reflection of the love and grace we've received from Christ, and it spreads outward, touching lives and communities. As Matthew 5 verse 14 says, "You are the light of the world." A city on a hill cannot be hidden. By being intentionally present and engaging in conscious communication, we become that light, guiding others to the hope and love found in God. In every encounter, we have the opportunity to be His hands and feet, making a difference in a world that so desperately needs healing. Growth is not a straight path. It is a journey filled with both triumphs and challenges. Philippians 1 verse 6 encourages us, saying, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion." This reminds us that God's work in us is ongoing. We are not expected to be perfect, but rather to trust in the process of growth step by step, day by day. Embracing this truth frees us from the burden of perfection and allows us to focus on progress. Even in our weaknesses, God's strength is made perfect, 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9, reminding us that it's not about being flawless, but about being faithful. Compassion and forgiveness are central to this journey. We must be kind to ourselves and to others, offering grace in times of difficulty. As Ephesians 4 verse 32 instructs, "Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you." In doing so, we experience healing both within and around us. Compassion is the balm that soothes the wounds of the soul, and forgiveness is the key that unlocks the door to peace. By embodying these qualities, we reflect God's mercy and help create a space where others can encounter His love. Each of us plays a vital role in the broader community. Our presence and our actions contribute to the well-being of those around us. As 1 Corinthians 12 verse 27 states, "Now you are the body of Christ, and each one of you is a part of it." When we act with love and share our lives with others, we become catalysts for change. Whether through small acts of kindness or larger gestures of support, our choices have the power to shape the world around us. It is through these everyday decisions that we build a world rooted in compassion, understanding, and unity. Daily choices are the building blocks of our personal and spiritual growth. It's not the grand gestures that define our journey, but the small, consistent steps we take each day. James 1 verse 22 challenges us to be doers of the word and not hearers only, reminding us that our faith is lived out in our daily actions. Each choice to listen, to speak with kindness, to let go of perfection draws us closer to God and to the people He has placed in our lives. These seemingly small acts accumulate into a life lived with purpose, intention, and love. Confidence and trust in God's plan are essential. We are reminded in Proverbs 3 verse 5 to 6, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight." This is a call to trust the process of growth and to have faith in the journey, even when it's difficult. Every challenge we face is an opportunity to become stronger, to deepen our relationship with God, and to discover our true selves in Him. When we trust in God's guidance, we can walk confidently, knowing that He is shaping us into the people we are meant to be. In every moment of presence, in each conversation, and through every challenge, we find God's grace at work. We are grateful for His guidance, for the opportunities to grow, and for the chance to share His love with others. Through intentional presence, conscious communication, and trust in His plan, we can make a difference in the world one moment, one choice at a time. In a world that constantly pushes us to seek validation through achievements or possessions, it's crucial to remember that our worth comes from simply being who we are. As C.S. Lewis once said, "You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream." This is a reminder that our value isn't tied to worldly success, but to our intrinsic worth as children of God. Sharing your authentic self with the world is more than just an act of vulnerability, it's a way to become a beacon of light and love. In doing so, you are not only transforming your own life, but you're contributing to the healing and growth of your community. The Bible says in Matthew 5, verse 16, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." This verse captures the essence of living a life of intentional presence, letting our actions and love ripple out into the world to create positive change. By continuing to show up, listen, and love, we become participants in God's greater story of redemption. Every moment of presence, every act of love, no matter how small, has the power to shift the trajectory of another person's life. This is the miracle of intentional living, where the heartbeats of our daily lives, the breaths we take in kindness and compassion, are the true miracles, transforming the world in ways we may never fully see. The journey of life is not about reaching perfection, but about embracing the process, the relationships, and the love we share along the way. As Proverbs 3, verse 5 to 6 teaches, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." Trusting in God's guidance allows us to release our fears and embrace our worth, knowing that we are enough simply because God created us with purpose. Each small, intentional action we take in love and faith brings us one step closer to transforming not only our own lives, but the world around us. In every heartbeat, every breath, remember you are valued, loved, and an essential part of God's magnificent story.